Good afternoon. Welcome to City News 24/7. I'm Faiza Amin. U.S. President Donald Trump has reached out to the Prime Minister. Mark Carney says they are set to schedule a phone conversation, and that's in the wake of new auto tariffs announced yesterday. Let's bring in our Ottawa correspondent, Glen McGregor. Glen, many were wondering when the two leaders would be speaking. If this chat goes forward in the next few days, it will be the first time they are meeting.
It was starting to get weird that they hadn't talked. Carney has been Liberal leader since March 9th. He's been Prime Minister officially for 11 days now. So it was strange. There wasn't any communication, at least publicly. There was no message of congratulation from Donald Trump to Carney assuming the prime ministership. And it didn't look like there was a very warm relationship. But this is a good sign that the White House at least wants to start the conversation. Carney saying that his office had been contacted by the White House, not the other way around, if that matters. Maybe sounds a little teenage. You called me, I didn't call you. But anyway, it looks like there's going to be at least a telephone call in the next little while. Of course, Carney is in the midst of an election campaign, so it would be difficult for him to suddenly break away from that campaign, travel to Washington for a meeting at the Oval Office. Although I will tell you this, so a little inside baseball here, Faiza, is that journalists who were traveling on the Liberal campaign this week were warned in advance that they should probably bring their passports with them. Well, why would they need to do that? Because the campaign is conducted exclusively within Canada, no chance of you leaving the country, unless Carney's Prime Minister's office was waiting for the possibility that they might have to suddenly go to the U.S. for exactly such a meeting. But let's talk about what else Carney covered there in those remarks. First of all, you got to note here that he is delivering these remarks wearing his prime minister's hat, not as Liberal leader, so wasn't really getting into any kind of campaigning, wasn't bashing any of his political opponents. He was kind of taking the high road on that. He talked about the fact that the Canadian government is doing certain things to make it easier for people who are directly affected by these tariffs, initially on the auto sector, talking about changes to the employment insurance system that's going to make it easier for them to collect and possibly sort of offset if there are any layoffs, which is something that the auto sector is warning about, that because the way the industry is so closely integrated across borders, supply chains rely on just-in-time delivery, that any kind of snafu with getting parts moving back and forth could potentially lead to assembly lines grinding to a halt. And that, of course, means layoffs of workers, both on the Canadian and U.S. side. Now, Carney also talked about, what the retaliation is going to be. He had a lot of questions from journalists about this. How is he going to respond to this? What is he going to do about the retaliation? And he says, we got to wait and see. Basically, we're not going to show our hand yet. We're not going to say what things we're going to do until April 2nd is the date that Trump is supposed to announce finalize those auto tariffs and also announce all kinds of other reciprocal tariffs, not just against Canada, but against right across the world. But let's go back, listen to the tape here of Mark Carney talking about this potential call with Donald Trump, which looks very key right now. Here's what he had to say.
Last night, the President of the United States reached out to schedule a call. I appreciate this opportunity to discuss how we can protect our workers and build our economies. I will make clear to the President that those interests are best served by cooperation and mutual respect, including of our sovereignty.
So there he's referring to mutual respect of our sovereignty. This is something he's said for a while since he won the Liberal leadership, was that he would not start a negotiation, a conversation with Donald Trump until he was assured that Trump respected Canada's sovereignty and our ability to make decisions for ourselves. That kind of presumed that he meant Trump is going to lay off all the talk about annexing Canada, the 51st state, what he refers to as sort of an arbitrary line on the map, which is actually our border with the United States, and referring to the Prime Minister as governor. He hasn't really done that with Carney yet, so that is, again, potentially a good sign. It sounds like Carney is maybe softening in that position. He doesn't need Trump to say anything about Canada's sovereignty. It sounds like just wants him to stop talking about us becoming the 51st state before that conversation takes place. So, but Carney did say he thought it would be in the next day or two, so that presumes it's going to be coming up very close, that we're going to have finally that first conversation between Mark Carney and Donald Trump since Carney became Prime Minister. Faiza.
Okay, Glenn, meanwhile, Carney's opponents, they continue on the campaign trail, the NDP in Windsor, and then you have the Conservatives spending the day in BC.
Yeah, that's right. The election campaign continues, even though Mark Carney has been kind of sidelined from campaigning. He was supposed to be in Quebec City today, bringing his message there, but had to come back to Ottawa last night to participate in this meeting of his cabinet. And tomorrow will also be sidelined again because he has to have a First Minister's meeting. He's going to be meeting with the provincial premiers. Now, the other candidates, though, are not so constrained. Pierre Poilievre is in Coquitlam, British Columbia today, and he's got a really big rally planned in Surrey tonight. Jagmeet Singh was in Hamilton yesterday. Today, he's in Windsor, Ontario, of course, the heart of the Canadian auto sector, doing events with Unifor unionized auto workers there. And both of them, of course, obligated to respond to these latest threats against the auto sector from Trump. Here's what they had to say.
The world needs our resources and our expertise. If you, Mr. Trump, don't want them, the rest of the world does. Under a new Conservative government, we will put Canada first for a change. We will be a nation that is strong, self-reliant, standing on its own 2 feet, so that we can stand up for ourselves and stand up to the Americans.
To describe what has happened when Donald Trump stabbed us in the back, it's a betrayal. It's a betrayal, and Canadians are angry, but people in Windsor are pissed off. This feels like a betrayal, a gut punch, for absolutely no reason. Donald Trump has started an illegal trade war with Canada, one of their best allies, for absolutely no reason.
So strong language there from both the Conservative and NDP leader. Both of their campaigns of really kind of having to pivot now. Poilievre came into this campaign, of course, hoping to run against the Liberal carbon tax. He thought that was going to be the central issue, and what we're seeing, now not even a week into it, that yes, as we expected, or as many expected, that the relationship with the United States and the threat of tariffs was going to be the dominant ballot box issue. So you see both campaigns there trying to pivot for the New Democrats as well. They were going to come into this campaign trying to take credit for a lot of the Liberal initiatives, things like dental care, pharmacare, daycare, legislation to prevent the use of replacement workers, those kinds of things. But again, that's just been completely overshadowed by the Trump threat. So both of those leaders still trying to find their footing on this, and probably really hoping the whole threat of Donald Trump and his tariffs goes away before the end of the campaign, Faiza.
All right, we'll see how things play out. That is our Glen McGregor in Ottawa. Glenn, thank you.
Thanks.